The action of the film takes place in 1914. The epigraph to the film is a quote from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, a saying about the abyss and monsters. A small ship sails across the ocean, accompanied by dolphins. A young meteorologist smokes on the deck of a steamer that is headed for a remote island in the South Atlantic. The voyage has been underway for 67 days. The ship reaches the land, and the crew descends ashore. The sailors unload personal belongings and equipment needed for meteorological observations. The captain does not like the island to which the young man has arrived. The men head for the lighthouse. The meteorologist and the captain enter the tower and go upstairs. They find the lighthouse keeper, Gruner, and ask where the previous meteorologist has gone. The man answers that the guy died of typhoid fever. He says that the dead meteorologist's body is missing. Before leaving the island, Captain Axel wants to give the guy his gun and advises him to be careful. The meteorologist has to stay on the island for 12 months. After that, he is supposed to be replaced. The young man finds an observation journal with a picture of a young woman in her wedding dress. In the last pages, the guy sees strange creatures copulating with the women. He also discovers the inscription, "Darwin was wrong." The next morning, the young man sets up meteorological equipment and begins to record the direction of the wind. He enters the data he receives into a journal. The guy takes his binoculars and watches the lighthouse keeper who is doing his morning exercise. In the evening, the meteorologist hears strange noises. He thinks that Gruner has come to see him and walks to the door. The young man hears a strange growl and hides in the basement. Through a crack in the boards, he sees a strange creature that looks like a two-legged reptile. The sound of shattered glass and heavy stomping is heard. In the morning, the young man climbs out of the cellar and notices strange footprints that lead to water. The guy runs to the lighthouse in terror and tries to get inside. Gruner does not open the door and pours a bucket of water on the guy. The meteorologist returns to the house and begins to fortify his dwelling. He prepares for another visit from the uninvited guests. The guy finds a rifle and ammunition in a drawer. He boards up all the windows and prepares to defend himself. At night, the monsters come again. The man begins to shoot back at them. He takes a torch and sets fire to a pile of garbage next to the house. He thinks the flames will scare the monsters away. The monsters retreat. The fire spreads to the wooden house. The man runs out of the building and hides behind a rock. Suddenly there's a heavy rainstorm which puts out the ensuing fire. At dawn, the meteorologist returns to the half-burned house and bandages his wounded hand. Virtually all of the young man's personal belongings are burned. The meteorologist takes his rifle with the rest of his ammunition and leaves the room. Near the rock, he is attacked by a toothy humanoid with a blue face. The guy wants to kill the monster but gets caught in the scope of Gruner's rifle. The meteorologist threatens the monster with his weapon, and the lighthouse keeper puts the barrel on the ground. Gruner summons the creature and says it poses no danger. The caretaker takes the meteorologist with him to the lighthouse. The guy falls asleep and wakes up to the creature licking his wounded hand. The pain in the limbs subsides. The wound is literally healing before his eyes. The caretaker tells him that he has managed to tame the monster. He also reports that sea monsters are afraid of light. The weatherman wants to leave the cursed island, but Gruner says that the next ship won't be coming soon. The caretaker gives his new acquaintance the nickname Friend. The night sets in. Gruner and Friend prepare to defend the lighthouse. A reptile, tamed by Gruner, begins to make strange noises, similar to quiet barking. As the monsters attacked, the meteorologist tripped out. He can't fire a single shot. Gruner fights off the attack alone. In the morning, he yells at the meteorologist and reproaches him for his cowardice. Gruner forces Friend to do the hardest and dirtiest household chores. Another night sets in. Hordes of monsters march toward the lighthouse. Gruner locks the weatherman on the balcony. Friend fights off the attack alone. In the morning, the caretaker opens the balcony and launches the bloodied guy into the room. The men continue to fight off the night's attacks one by one. Suddenly, the attacks stop. Friend discovers that Gruner is living a love life with a tame monster. The meteorologist cannot understand how his friend could violate the biological restrictions set by nature. At dusk, a huge pack of monsters races toward the lighthouse. The men use up all their ammunition and realize that there are too many monsters. They hide at the top of the lighthouse. The reptiles surround the defenders, but cannot penetrate the dense glass. With the first rays of sunlight, the sea creatures escape back into the ocean. A new day arrives. The tame creature licks Gruner's wounds. He screams and moans in pain. Friend says that they will not survive another attack. The meteorologist reports that they have too little strength and ammunition left. In the afternoon, a ship appears on the horizon. The meteorologist grabs a rocket launcher and tries to fire a salvo. Gruner is adamant about this turn of events. He runs to Friend and tries to snatch the flare gun. During the fight, the tame monster starts growling at the caretaker. Gruner takes the gun away from Friend and says he doesn't want to see any humans on the island. The meteorologist curses the caretaker. He calls Gruner a misanthrope and a loser. The ship sails away. Gruner beats the creature as a punishment. The meteorologist tries to comfort the humanoid and shows him a fragment of a fishbone that looks like a ship. The creature runs ashore and shows the meteorologist the abandoned boat. Friend tells the lighthouse keeper about that. Gruner replies that he knows about the boat. It once belonged to smugglers who carried dynamite. The keeper does not want to leave the island. He does not know what he will do on the big land. Friend begins to grow interested in the creature. One day he sees her in a hot spring. The man undresses and swims up to the amphibian. They make love. Gruner sees this and decides to get the dynamite that was left on the sunken smuggler's ship. The caretaker wants the weatherman to do it, secretly hoping that he will drown. Friend goes underwater in a heavy scuba tank and hooks up some crates of dynamite. Gruner lifts the explosives into the boat. An amphibian bursts out of the ship and knocks the meteorologist to the ground. Friend falls to the bottom and begins to signal the Gruner with his oxygen hose strapped on. An unknown creature swims up to the diver. Friend drops the scuba hose and swims up to Gruner. The guy gets chills. The lighthouse keeper gives him some warm clothes. Then they swim ashore and place some of the dynamite between the rocks. The charges are wired to the detonator, which is mounted on the roof of the lighthouse. Winter is coming to the island. The ground is covered with snow, and the temperature drops sharply. Gruner, wrapped in a half-fur coat, climbs onto the lighthouse roof and is on duty at the detonator. The monsters do not come at night. Attacks stop for 3 weeks. The caretaker realizes that his amphibian has somehow warned his congeners of the danger. Gruner forces his pet to make noises that attract his amphibious brethren. A massive monster attack begins. The monsters burst into the lighthouse building. Gruner tries to set off the detonator, but nothing works. Friend fixes the malfunction and detonates the charges. Many amphibians get killed by the explosions. In the morning, the caretaker and the meteorologist come to the shore and finish off the surviving monsters. Gruner advises to finish off the amphibians with a knife and save ammunition. Friend finds a necklace on one of the creatures. It shows that underwater creatures have consciousness. Gruner takes the necklace away and throws it into the ocean. At night, the creature begins to groan and mourns its murdered brethren. Gruner explains how he found his pet. The amphibian was entangled in a fishing net, and the caretaker pulled it out of there. The meteorologist goes ashore and makes a circle of stones with a bone ship in the center. Friend goes up to the lighthouse and sees Gruner, who is asleep soundlessly. Next to the caretaker was a photograph of the woman who was in the observation journal. Friend realizes that Gruner is the previous meteorologist, whose body could not be found. The young man goes to the shore and encounters water creatures that are not aggressive. Gruner wakes up and opens fire on the amphibians. Friend urges his partner to lower his weapon. Gruner escapes to the lighthouse. There, he finds a rocket launcher and kills a baby of the underwater inhabitants. Friend runs to the lighthouse and gets into a fight with Gruner. The caretaker wins the fight, but does not kill his partner. Friend calls out the keeper's real name. Gruner goes into emotional shock and loses his mind. He goes out on the balcony and gets attacked by aquatic reptiles. Gruner falls to the rocks. The creatures kill the caretaker. The next morning, a steamer docks ashore. The captain goes up to the lighthouse and mistakes Friend for Gruner. He demands that the keeper clean himself up and shave. The captain informs him that the meteorologist has been brought in as a replacement, to which Friend informs him that the latter died of typhoid fever. The man then goes out on the balcony and looks out into the distance. He sees several warships standing in the harbor and a tame creature running away and jumping into the ocean.